Beijing, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Then,
Okay.
all right. Then we will start. So thank you to join this Agri-Food Club of CCIFC. Today we will use English because we have some very friendly guests from Jindong. So for people who don't know me, my name is Alban Renaud. I'm a lawyer here in China, and I work a lot in the business of food and agriculture. I'm one of the coordinators of a working group together with Jérôme Marès from Le Safre. Today we will discuss about the digitalization of the agri-food business and e-commerce. We have, of course, a specific situation with the virus, but this is kind of a booster of the evolution of e-commerce. We will have different speakers. So today, first we will start with a very short presentation and update on the situation by François Blanc, our agriculture advisor of the French embassy. Then Jessie Young and her colleague Stewart from Jindong, both senior business development manager, will discuss and explain how their platform can help the enterprise for their food and agri business online. Then we will have a presentation by Edouard de Mezrac and Florian Muller from Artefact about strategy and how to have a better understanding of e-commerce in China. Then Benoît Vaillant from Coppel and Jérôme Marès from Le Safre will share their personal experience on e-commerce. And for all questions you will have, please ask them at the end. We will try to keep at least half an hour to answer all the necessary questions. And then without any more waiting, I give the floor to François. François, that's your turn.
Thank you, Alban. Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning to our participants in France. So I will give a brief update of the activity. I will give a brief update of the activities. I will give a brief update of the activities of the French-Chinese relationship. As you can imagine, in the recent months, due to the onset or outbreak of this COVID, these activities have slowed down, and especially all meetings, workshops, which we usually organize together, has been very much suspended. Although it has never been stopped, and as this webinar proves it, we've also moved more and more on using digital tools to discuss urgency points or to plan the activities. And therefore, the activities have been suspended, but they've been neither completely stopped nor cancelled. Nonetheless, the administrative exchange, which we have usually to discuss all current topics, negotiations, and so on and so forth, have been very much slowed down because of these constraints, and also because that on both sides we had other more emergency topics to deal with. So the administrative exchanges have been suspended, not completely stopped, but the clear intention on both sides is to resume them as soon as possible, or rather as soon as the conditions allow it, and to resume our various topics of discussion. On the other aspect of the French-Chinese relationship, I mean the political meetings between ministers. These meetings, of course, have been suspended too due to the impossibility to move from one country to the other. But also on that aspect, the intention is to resume them as soon as possible, as soon as conditions allow it. And then we've already started discussing the next meetings, which we could have at various levels between ministers and including between the ministries, the two ministers of agriculture. So that is at the moment the situation. No need to say also that as well as workshops or seminars, the trade fairs, which are big opportunities for visits, bilateral visits, have already been also been suspended due to the impossibility to have physical meetings, and especially this kind of large meetings. But once more, the intention is to resume them as soon as possible. You've noticed that the SIAL, Shanghai, has been postponed to September. The new dates have been announced. Same thing for the big wine and spirit fair, which is usually takes place in Chengdu in March, the Tangzhehui. It was first rescheduled on the 23rd of May, and then today we've learned that it could be rescheduled again to a further date. So these trade fairs being rescheduled, it brings us to two conclusions. The first one is that the ministerial visits, which most often take place in link with these trade fairs, have been postponed to. And the second one, which brings us to the topic of today, is that due to the fact that it's very difficult to meet physically, then we move in online, and then that's why we are here. We are here today, and very happy to see you. Thank you.
I think it's very clear. Jessie, we are very happy to welcome you today, and please start with your presentation with Stewart.
Okay, thank you so much. Hello everyone, I'm Jessie from JD Worldwide, mainly take charge of the food and beverage and wine category. So today let me give you a brief introduction about JD and JD Worldwide. And also we just want to demonstrate the potential opportunities in Chinese market to let more and more French companies into Chinese market. JD is China's largest retailers by revenue, online or offline, and we are the third largest internet company in the world in 2019, after Amazon and Alphabet by revenue. And JD achieved 82.9 billion USD last year by revenue. And we are the first Chinese internet company to make the Fortune Global 200 list, ranking in 139 last year. And we had the strict zero tolerance policy towards counterfeit goods since day one. So that is why customers in China trust JD as a guarantee of the authenticity. Customers can buy almost everything on JD. As a cross-category platform, we cover everything from luxury watches to fresh food to everyday home products and more. We are really proud that we have already achieved several #1 distinctions in China, such as largest supermarket online or offline, and top retailers for the following categories, including infant formula, diapers, milk, beer, and cooking oil. We are also China's largest retailer of consumer electronics and home appliance. So we are really happy to connect with you to talk about how the food and agriculture companies to tap into Chinese market. So when we asked about the shopping experience on JD in China, a lot of consumers will say fast, because we offer standard same day or next day delivery to customers. If you order products from JD before 11 a.m. today, you are very likely to receive it in this afternoon. If you order products before 11 p.m. today, you are very likely to receive it tomorrow morning. So no other e-commerce company can compete with us in this aspect. The reason that we are able to offer such a service is that we operate the largest e-commerce logistic infrastructures in China, covering 99% of the country's population. For our direct purchase model, over 90% of order can be delivered same day or next day. As the only e-commerce platform in the world to provide small to medium-sized warehousing, oversized warehousing, cross-border, cold chain delivery, frozen and chilled warehousing facilities, our aim is to offer the best shopping experience of our customers. Three of our top strategic partners include Tencent, Walmart, and Google. We began the cooperation with Tencent in March 2014. It enabled us to reach over 1 billion Chinese consumers. And also we have the first level entry point on WeChat application by Tencent to reach lower tier city consumers and more than 1 billion Chinese consumers. As for the cooperation with Walmart, we began the partnership from June 2016. We work together in not only omni-channel, but also in logistics. More than 300 Walmart stores in China has a presence on our Dada Group's crowdsourcing platform, and which is our joint venture for the rapid delivery. And also Walmart and Sam's Club have the online flagship store on JD. And also the Google and JD partnership is focused on collaboration on a range of strategic initiatives. And we believe that the future of the retail is a boundaryless retail, which is an idea of enabling consumers to buy whatever they want, whenever they want, and wherever they want it. So rather than being limited to just online or offline, it is an integration of online and offline retail. We connect various shopping situations, including PC, mobile phone, and convenience store, offline supermarket, smart home, etc. So we also open our technology and infrastructure to all the brand retailers and other industry as a part of its retail as a service strategy. JD's story began from a small counter in Beijing Zhongguancun, which is a shopping mall mainly selling electronics, in 1998. In 2004, following SARS epidemic, JD online business launches. And company began developing its own logistic network from 2007. Next year, we become covering all consumer categories. And in 2010, we launched marketplace model for third-party sellers. In 2014, we made the largest Nasdaq IPO of the year. In the following year, we started offering logistics service to third-party merchants and become the first e-commerce company in the world to deploy delivery drones. At the same time, cross-border e-commerce becomes the strategic route of JD's internationalization, and JD Worldwide focuses on the import business. According to our research, Chinese consumers are embracing cross-border e-commerce in recent years, and cross-border e-commerce has already tapped into stable development stage. There are three foundations of cross-border e-commerce in China. The first one is the trust from Chinese consumers. With growth in Chinese consumers' spending power, high-quality products made overseas are becoming consumers' favorites. They prefer to trust large e-commerce platforms like JD rather than individual buyers. Another important factor is supportive policy from Chinese government that reduces the barrier and provides more flexible channels for overseas brands to enter China. Meanwhile, if we can directly work with the brand owners and we can cut the extra cost in between and enjoy simplified supply chain requirements, and the supportive tax policy to reduce the cost of entering Chinese market. So for importing business in China, we mainly have two models. The first one is a general trade models. Another one is a cross-border e-commerce. Compared with traditional import trading, cross-border e-commerce enjoys simplified requirements and shorter leading time. As for tax, there is no tariff under cross-border e-commerce, and the GST and the VAT will be 30% off. So the total tax for food and beverage is only 9.1% currently, and for right one is only 17.9%. JD Worldwide launched in April 2015, and we are going to have our 5-year birthday party. And it is one of the leading cross-border e-commerce platform in China. In September 2016, JD Worldwide opens its cross-border logistics service to third-party merchants on its platform. To date, we have already attracted more than 20,000 brands from 100 countries and regions with 10 million SKUs. JD Worldwide covers a full range of categories, including baby and mom, cosmetics, electronics, food and beverage, healthcare, fashion, and global retailers. And also we have two main models. The first one is a direct sales model. Another one is marketplace model. I will illustrate this part later. As for French products on JD Worldwide, we achieved really good performance and ranking in 7th place this year. And we have several top categories for French products: cosmetics, personal care, healthcare, luxury gift, and also our food and beverage. As for the categories of the food and beverage, and also one, we can see we have a full range of categories about all the subcategories. Also, we have a lot of brands to cooperate with us. So there are some of the brands, and we welcome more and more French brands into our brand wall. So about the cooperation models, we mainly have two models. The first one is a direct purchase models, which is the B2B2C. The brand owner or their official distributor can sell inventory to JD. So for these models, the brand can enjoy the benefits of the brand name and the JD brand recognition. And we will take responsibility for the inventory. So it is really suitable for the mature brands with some sales data in China, or if you have any wholesalers, maybe we can cooperate with your official wholesalers. Another one is a marketplace model, which is a B2C model. The brand owner or some large retailers can open their own flagship store on JD. So your entrance can tell the brand story, bring good quality items, and increase the brand reputation and awareness in Chinese market. And also some group can open the multi-brand store. We welcome all different kinds of brand or retailers to cooperate with us by the marketplace model. Our aim is to achieve shopping without borders. So a lot of overseas companies will have three problems to tap into Chinese market. The first one is the channels. The second one is the logistics. And the third one is the operation. And for e-commerce, especially for online operation. So JD will help you and support you to deal with all these problems. For the channels, we simplified all the materials. We only need some fundamental materials for the brand owners, just like the company certificate, USD, bank account, and trademark and ID of legal person. And also for some official distributors and retailers, we need the trademark classification certified and some authorization letters. So how can we transport overseas product into Chinese market? JD Logistics offers two main solutions: bonded warehouse model and direct delivery model. For the import, bonded warehouse model means the inventory put into Chinese bonded warehouse. We have more than 10 bonded warehouse in China. It is suitable for the FMCG because the delivery time will be short and the logistic cost will be relatively low, while the inventory pressure may be higher. So customers, after they order the products, they will receive it within 3 days from the bonded warehouse to customers. And another one is the overseas direct delivery service model, which means we can put the inventory in JD's overseas warehouse. It needs around 3 to 10 days from overseas warehouse to Chinese consumer, with lower inventory pressure, but longer time and higher cost. So maybe just like the luxury or some long tail goods suits it fine. But we can offer the one-stop logistic solutions for your company. And another problem for the overseas brand is the online operation. So we also can we can also offer this kind of support for you, because JD has one service union can offer the one-stop service of the cross-border e-commerce solutions for overseas brand. We can deal with the pain points for operation, marketing, data, and other customer service part. We will have the full service, just like the brand consulting, and also the platform application, international logistic, and also online operation for overseas companies. When we solve all the problems for channels, logistics, and online operation, overseas companies can tap into Chinese market, and our business development manager will offer all the support during the whole process. And for the French food and beverage, we encourage the authorized French company who with the online operation ability to cooperate with us to build the online food and beverage pavilion together. We can solve all the pain points, just like the small to medium-sized companies' capital pressure and the brand awareness, the high delivery cost, and some problem with the counterfeit goods and also other online operation part. So there are some of our partners around the world. You can see lots of large retailers and industry giants on the brand wall. So we welcome more and more French food and beverage and also wine companies to cooperate with us, and we can enrich this kind of brand wall together. We are expecting to make the joint effort with you to grow business to China. So welcome to work with us and tap into Chinese faster-growing e-commerce market. You can find the contact information on this screen. And also we have another colleague in Paris. Her name is Sun Jie. If you have some, maybe you prefer to speak French, you can contact her. That is my presentation. So welcome to tap into China's fast-growing e-commerce market. Thank you. We will be your partner.
Thank you, Jessie. I think it was very clear and very interesting. We will answer the question we have for you, I think, at the end. But just for your information, before we started, we already received some questions about the trademark registration for the online sale in China. And now I'm gonna give the floor to Florian and Edouard from Artefact. Edouard starting.
Thank you. And very happy to be with you today. So my name is Edouard de Mezrac. I'm from Artefact. Just what I want to do with you today is take you through a few things. First, starting with a very brief introduction of Artefact, who we are, what we do. And then I'll take you through an overview of e-commerce in China, broad, obviously covering some elements of JD, Jingdong, but what are the other players? How does it work? What are the type of models that exist? And then I'll let Florian take us through what has been the impact of COVID-19 on e-com, and there are a number of them, and it's still early stage, but sharing already a few thoughts on this. And then a few observations and questions and orientation for the food industry, considering entering or growing in e-com in China. So just a few words on Artefact. We're a French consulting agency founded in Paris. We're 800 people worldwide. So we provide service. And in China, we have 110 people. And the mix of people, I think, is quite unique, but a mix of business or data consultants, data scientists and engineers, media, e-com, CRM experts, and creatives. And our art is to help our clients by bringing this unique combination of people to solve their problems. So what we do is three things very briefly. We help our clients advise in an advising role. We build elements and we build models. We build solutions, and more we're able to run and support these solutions. Just very quickly take you through some examples. Many clients in China are large international companies, have a number of questions around obviously e-com, on their own data strategy, their own data acceleration. And so we're advising them on how to make this happen. Give you one example, we're supporting Sanofi on their cross-border e-com strategy and their direct social e-commerce strategy as well. So basically defining what is the best route to market, how to grow, and more precisely, how to be able to leverage data on consumers to better understand and better anticipate what is going on. More and more, we are helping our clients by building solutions, building models. We have a mix of data scientists, data engineers to actually implement within the systems of our clients, prediction models on future sellout or sell-in, so future sales models, optimization of pricing, customer segmentation models. Give you one example. One big challenge in China is loyalty. When you look at brands, B2C brands or B2B2C brands selling in China, the turnover of consumers year on year is huge. Sometimes 80% of consumer every single year is new. Big question is how to increase the second purchase, how to increase this loyalty. So this is where machine learning comes in. And we're helping right now a top luxury brand build a second purchase optimization model to using machine learning to basically be able to target consumers in a smarter way. Last, more and more, we're able to run solutions for our clients. So social CRM is an example of it. Being able to run constantly segmentations. We're helping right now DFS, travel retail, to run their social CRM approach in China. That's it. So again, we're French. We have 110 people here in Shanghai. In Shanghai, most of our talents are local and Chinese, and we're originally a French company headquartered in Paris. So that's it for the presentation. Let me take you through a bit of an overview of what's going on in e-commerce in China. A few things, and it's worth reminding. I think e-commerce is not a trend anymore, it's just a fact. It's part of the retail landscape. Right now, it accounts for over 20% of total retail sales. Definition of this behind is anything that is bought by people, so any consumer-related element from textile to food, fresh or non-fresh, package or non-package. 20% of this today in China is bought online. And what is quite impressive is that the speed at which it grew, basically moving from almost nothing, less than a few percent, just 6 or 7 years ago. Projections right now, and these are projections from before the virus, and we'll talk about it, is still that this pace will keep increasing at roughly 20% per year moving on. A number of new categories are being penetrated. Some categories today have a share of e-com sales of 60%. Give you one example, cosmetics, beauty category. Right now, assumption in the market is that over half of the market is actually online across all platforms. Another key element to have in mind, and for people from France or Europe, it's always a bit surprising. Most of the transactions of e-com are on a phone, on a mobile, not on an actual laptop. And so this changes a bit the game, because the number of products you can actually see on the phone is not the same at all. This changes a bit the game, so that because the space that is on a phone is limited, so the actual cost of buying media through e-com is also increasing. The last piece that was mentioned previously that I think is key is e-com cannot be taken and looked at in silo. More and more consumers are wanting to switch from offline to online, from online to offline. And the big challenge for brands today is how to manage that switch, how to manage that service. And this is where all big players, e-com big players in China, are offering more and more solutions to make this happen. This is what we call new retail. This is what we call social retail. And we'll get back to this. That's a big numbers. Just also for you to understand the different types of platforms and the different type of e-commerce. Again, it's obviously not exhaustive, but it gives you a bit of a segmentation to understand how it works. Two big segmentation. What often most of the market today is what we call retail e-commerce. When you look at this, there's the biggest players dominating the game, what we call generalist players. They can be broken down into two macro types. What we call marketplace driven. And obviously all players do a bit of both, but Tmall and Ali is mostly a marketplace driven type of model. What does that mean? This means that what Ali offers is like an online mall that brands or individual consumers can rent space on to sell their products. The product still belongs to the brand, and the product will belong to the brand or to the distributor selling for the brand until the final consumer buys it. That's a marketplace type of model. The e-retailer model, JD is by far the largest, as it was said before. And it's basically a retailer that owns the inventory. They build an assortment, they build a strategy on pricing and promotions, and they buy the physical products from the brands. That is the e-retailer model, JD completely dominating the game. One of the big difference here is, as an e-retailer model, JD will have its own logistics network, its own warehouses belonging to JD, its own delivery people, its own trucks. Ali, on the other side, doesn't have that. They will have a network of third-party providers called Signal. So that's, I think, one of the big elements of difference when you look at this. These are generalist players completely dominating the game. When you look at, there are more and more vertical players with strong specialty, and it's just a few examples around food. The list goes on this. Hama is a retail physical store offering online and offline. So there's as much online and offline transactions and sales through Hama that's owned by Ali. There's a number of other fresh food specialists in that space. That's the retail e-commerce, the bulk of the market. If you look at the right-hand side, social e-commerce, that's something that is quite new. If you want to understand it very simply, it's basically you and me deciding to sell something on a platform. So I can build a mini store with the products I like, sell it to my friends. That is a small portion. This is how this whole social e-commerce started. What is happening right now is more and more brands are playing that role directly. Give you an example. More and more brands, especially luxury brands, are opening on Tencent mini programs to sell their products directly in a D2C mode. so direct-to-consumer mode. They've been leveraging Tencent as a way, so it's WeChat, as a way to engage with consumers. And WeChat has offered possibility to open and develop mini programs within their environment to position their products and sell their products. So today I can buy through WeChat on pretty much anything I want directly from the brand. That is the D2C model. Ali is doing pretty much the same thing through their Alipay ecosystem, but it's starting, offering mini programs more and more. There's a completely new way of buying as well, called live streaming. Youku, which is the equivalent of YouTube, to be simple, you can now buy directly. So live streaming will be people demonstrating products live, and you can directly buy it as you are watching the video. That is something that is also emerging. Content-driven, that's Little Red Book. Little Red Book is started really focusing on cosmetics, and it's around people sharing content and brands sharing content, demonstrations, demos mostly on cosmetics, but now going beyond. And there's more and more community shopping. Social e-commerce is still a fraction of the market, but it's a fast-growing trend. One note here, you'll see on this page that there's no, let's say, individual brand.com website or .cn website. And I think that's a very big fact in China. Having an own .com website to sell your products directly, this simply doesn't work. Unless maybe your name is Nike.com, and then you have such a strong brand that you can bring traffic enough on your own platform. But so the game in China is really around these macro players. To give you a sense of the split, and it's a bit hard to have all the numbers, but basically retail e-commerce is mostly 80%, 20% of the sales is around social e-commerce. When you look at retail e-commerce, biggest players are obviously Ali today, buying, by the way, more and more players, and Jingdong being the largest e-retailer and the second player around e-com if you take everything marketplace plus e-retailer. A few elements to understand the models and how it works. It was mentioned a bit before, but kind of give you a broad sense of how it works. If we take what was presented earlier, the typical model is with JD.com of a B2B to C model. So how it works is simple. The black line is the sales flow. The orange line is the logistics flow. Here, the brand will sell the product to the e-com platform, in this case, JD.com. The product belongs, the inventory belongs to JD.com, that then manages its own inventory and sells to the final consumer. There's a nuance where in some cases, brands will first sell to a distributor, who will, a TP in some cases, who will then sell to the e-com platform. But the key thing is in this B2B to C model, the e-com platform will own at some point the inventory. The B2C model is a bit of a different game. Basically, the brand will sell directly to the final consumer. Most of the brands today will rely on TP, so Tmall partners or distributors to do that. Some of them will have internalized their own TP. Give you one example, L'Oréal is among the winning brands in e-com in China, having in some of their categories over 50% of their sales in e-com. L'Oréal has their own integrated TP in-house. So they have an ability to run the operations of a store on Tmall directly and to sell directly to the final consumer, which means when L'Oréal will recognize sales on Tmall, it's the final sales to the final consumer that will trigger the sales recognition for L'Oréal. They're not selling to any intermediary in the middle. C2C, which is a consumer to consumer, which is a growing factor, is basically you have individual sellers selling to the final consumer through a platform that is putting and showcasing the product offering that this individual seller will have. And that is a growing category for a growing trend for some categories such as cosmetics or healthcare products, or in some cases even small luxury, small jewelry. Just quick deep dive on this word of Tmall partners or TP. This word TP has become a generic word to describe online distributors. So these are players supporting brands, either to operate in the marketplace world, either to operate in a e-retailer world. So a few things. What do these people actually do? It's an online distributor, and they take care of operations. They will actually build assortment, manage the pricing. In most cases, do the media buy. So do the media buy within the platforms. You cannot grow any kind of positioning in any e-com platform without buying media space from the platform. So it's buying banners, buying keywords, etc. And in most cases, we'll also play a role in logistics and finance. So handling the physical flows of products and the payments. The returns, it's a mixed bag. Most of these players may handle the returns coming back from the platform. One thing is, there's a bit of a myth around of brands not being able to see any kind of data when they sell online with big platforms. That's not true. Most of these TPs or distributors, online distributors, will have access to a wide range of data. They will see campaign data. They will see store level data, sales, traffic. In most cases by SKU, in most cases by day. They will see brand data, everything related to what happened for the brand. They may see also benchmarks of their brand versus others. What amazes me is the number of times where the brand working with a distributor, a Tmall partner, has never written in the contract what is the access to data. And many brands right now, and the virus here showed it a number of times, are waking up saying, we don't have access to granular data. We get a report at the end of 2 months or at the end of trimester where there's nothing we can do with that. So having the right set of conditions written in the contract between the brand and the distributor on access to data is a key thing. And we'll get back to this afterwards. Last but not least, everything I've talked about here is mostly around, let's say, B2B2C or B2C directly. What is also happening in the e-com world in China is the B2B landscape is completely being disrupted. For many years, the only way to reach final consumers in the market was to go through layers of distributor. You have distributor one covering tier 1 cities, and then you have to go through 2, 3, 4 different layers of distributors if you want to cover tier 3 or tier 4, tier 5 cities. What is happening right now is both largest e-com players, so Ali and Jingdong, JD, are developing solutions completely disrupting that, offering for the final mom and pop shop far away in China an ability to buy products directly, offering speed, offering prices, offering good conditions, in most cases much better than the traditional distributor that was handling the physical flow at the end. Other example of this is restaurants. JDXTL is able today to provide logistics and food supply for restaurants, small and medium-sized restaurants across the country. And as it was said before, the level of coverage, geographical coverage of JD across the country is unique. So they are able to cover and have a speed of delivery completely unmatched, breaking in the middle a number of legacy distributors who cannot compete with that. So there's also, if you step back, you look at the e-com world, this B2B landscape is also being challenged and reinvented. So how to work with these distributors is being challenged today. I'll let Florian take us through the impact of COVID-19 and implications for the food industry.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll start with a few quick words on the impact on COVID-19 on the consumer behavior. As you may know, people have dramatically changed their behavior during the crisis. They have reduced significantly their shopping frequency. They have increased their basket size. They have really focused on essential items like food and health products. The online penetration rate just boomed in China during the crisis, almost up to 70% of the people in China. And as we have presented earlier, the food delivery apps like Hema, like Jingdong Daojia, have really taken off or really increased their reach during the crisis. And one key takeaway, and this is the point number 5, is that logistic network is key. And to have a fully owned logistic network really helps some players to ensure quality and delivery speed during the crisis. One word on the fresh food e-commerce. So in January 19, we had approximately 17 million users of fresh food delivery platforms in China. It jumped to 27 million this year. And during the crisis, you can see the figures on the right of this slide. A lot of these delivery apps have seen their sales and their daily users booming. Because again, indeed, consumers were not willing to go to offline stores, that's for sure. But also, these platforms can ensure product quality, safety, and efficient delivery. And it's probably one of the drivers for this platform to really penetrate in China for the coming years. So, no doubt about the fact that e-commerce is even more critical now in China than before, but we had no doubt already before. So a few words on what we think you should think about before entering e-commerce or to reinforce your position in the e-commerce ecosystem in China. First, e-commerce is specific. We cannot apply the same tactics as what we use offline. So we need to develop the right tactic to be found on the e-commerce. You need to have a strong supply chain. As Edward mentioned, you can have access to a lot of data to pilot your business on a daily basis, and that can be very useful to overperform competitors. It can also help you to understand who is the consumer buying behind the B2B model. And finally, it's important that the overall organization is really pushing towards the same direction. So quickly, because I think we are a bit running out of time, but first, you need to be found on the e-commerce world. So you need to choose the right platform, of course, but also you need to set up the right product strategy with the right price, assortment, promotion. And you need to activate your consumers. So you need to invest in media to be found on this platform, because as you know, the offer in this platform is just huge. Then you need to set up an agile and cost efficiency supply chain. So we know that offline distribution in China is a challenge because the country is wide and you need to rely usually on a lot of traditional distributors. As we mentioned earlier, Jingdong and Alibaba are now also offering some distribution services that allow you to cover a wide geographical area in China, but also to have a deep reach, so to go deep in low-tier cities. And on top of this reach, they can most of the time offer more transparency on what's happening in the market. They can offer also better efficiency on your logistics. So that's very important to think about what's your route to market and how you reach your consumers. Online data. Well, this is a very wide topic, but if you are selling online, most probably you can collect data on the media you spend, so how efficient they are, who they are, which kind of consumer they are targeting. You can know some information about your stores, what is the traffic on your e-commerce store, what are the sales, what is the consumer engagement. Then on the brand, at the brand level, so if you have different e-commerce store, you can also have data at the brand level and potentially also have some data from the industry and category that you are playing in. Alibaba, Jingdong is just an example, but both are offering access to all this data. And the top players here in China are really using this data on a daily basis to pilot their business as efficient as possible. An additional word on data is, I'm sure a lot of you are working also in the B2B industry. Today, it's important that that you can know that we are also able to know who is the consumer that is buying the product. So who is the C behind the B? Of course, you probably have access to what we call the first-party data. So it's your own data, your sales, your distribution. But also now we can enrich this data with second-party data. So by collecting the data of your distributor, of your Tmall partners, we can enrich it with some media data, so to understand how efficient your media are, and with third-party data. So third-party data is really buying data from data providers that can give you some information about who are your consumers or who are the business you are targeting. So today in China, there is an ecosystem that allows companies to have a really clear understanding of who are their customers. So, are you ready to embrace all these opportunities in China? Well, we have just 5 questions to conclude. First, are you sure you are not selling your product online, or are you sure your product are not already sold online by someone? We can have some surprise sometimes and find some products that are not supposed to be online. Do you have a clear e-commerce strategy? And if not, well, maybe the crisis showed us that it's the right time to have a clear e-commerce strategy. Do you have access to the data? Can you really pilot them? Then, if not, we need to think about, you need to think about how you collect this data and how you use them. Do you have among your distributors someone that can help you to develop your business online? And finally, are you ready to really anticipate the chain reaction? Because once you enter this e-commerce world, well, you are also ahead and facing the volatility of the demand. So that's it for us. We will be happy to take a few questions at the end of the session.
Well, thank you very much to both of you, Edouard and Florian. I will come back to it a bit later, but I see just in both presentations there are some key elements, and one specifically that I think we can still discuss a little bit later concern actually trademarks, because that's also one really key and very important issue to sell online. Now I will give the floor to Benoît Vaillant from Copperl. Benoît?
Hi. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon.
Yeah. Maybe you can share your
I am the General Manager of Copperl. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Okay, basically, briefly about Copperl. Copperl is in the pork industry. In China, we have a farm in Henan, and basically we are selling genetic and as well selling fattening pigs. And the topic of today, talking about the e-commerce, is definitely matching with the challenge that I'm facing right now. The question that was just raised just before, am I ready to be online? Okay, the question is, with the product that we are selling in the market right now, partially yes, but most probably not really, as we are more downstream company. Obviously, the current situation has changed the plan and accelerate the move that I was already planning on the second semester 2020 to go more on a deeper, let's say, or wider transformation of the goods that I was having in mind, that I have to do, of course, much faster than was expected. And the reason is, obviously, that up to now, I was selling as simply as this pork carcasses to the offline retail. And nowadays, I mean, the change on the increase of the online business has made the things changing quite a lot, meaning that even the offline retailers do not have even staff to cut the meat. And obviously, then I have to think about, let's say, going further and having, let's say, items that will fit online business. Today, by the way, I have definitively accelerated the move and start thinking about. I have performed, let's say, recently tests in a way to answer this specific need of online retail, and we've performed new partnership with already companies we are in touch with in order to let's say prepare the items for the online demand. This means as well for Copper in middle term, most probably a new thinking on further investment as well, on most probably building transformation of meat and processing lines that most probably we will need to develop soon. And this is already the next move that I will most probably have in the coming months. We have talked and we've listened about the very good presentation of our, let's say, speakers from GD.com and Artefact. Then basically me, I have, let's say, a small warning to everyone on the fact that yes, online is popping up, but today what I see as well is that for me, having to say is that the awareness of my goods are not at this stage at the level of, for example, a brand like L'Oréal. The story is that I will propose my goods within a range of items that is at present already quite wide, and the risk that I have even online today is to have a deep dilution of my item and having, let's say, difficulties of performing volumes as well, because today the offer online is extreme already. But how to answer this most probably is to think about having a differentiation compared to what we can find already in the market. That's the reason that why as well we are one of the sole pork producer in China that is already one die certified, and this is what definitively end users or customers will look for, is a story beside our item, because more and more the quality awareness of the client will be growing very fast in China as well. At the same time, Copper is as well having a partnership with New Hope and on a meat processing plant located in Beijing. And definitively at this stage, we are already developing a strategy of being, let's say, beside the online platform. We are already discussing with the main players in the market in order to have our goods on it. And starting anyway, what I've seen on the presentation just before, a topic concerning the C2C, and a question that maybe some of our colleagues may have to think about. The C2C most probably is going to grow in China. Already during the crisis, I have a number that is quite impressive, is that 35% of the customers online have used this mode of purchase as well, C2C, which is impressive. Okay, the good, let's say for my part, again, anyway, the strategy for me is clear at the end of the day. The transformation that I'm performing today is definitively to proceed for, let's say, the online range that I'm developing right now. I think that's what I want to say for today.
Thank you, Benoit. I think it's quite interesting to see also from a real player and an enterprise. Jérôme, I think you wanted also to share a bit some comment and some idea from your side.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, I should say. Do you hear me well? Hello? Is it okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. All right. So I'm from Le Safre. Le Safre is actually producing yeast for different segments, main one being the bakery, but we are as well dealing with food ingredients, with feed, animal feeds, with human care as well, and as well for biotechs. So we are in China actually operating plants since, I should say, end of the 90s. And we are now in China with 5 plants. So basically, our main business still is the bakery and the Mantao production, kind of, Chinese bread. What's important for us regarding the e-commerce, I should say, is that we are learning in China and basically trying to convey our experience to the group. We're learning in China because, we see a very competitive environment. Our competition actually is really well-dealing, Chinese competition, well-dealing with e-commerce, and it forces us to be agile. There are a lot of concepts developed by GD and Artefact. Clearly, for us, data is key. For our traditional business, we've been dealing for many years with distributors. We are still dealing with distributors, but we have a large rank of distributors, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, before it comes to end user. And so for us, the data is key. I heard a lot about, different concepts, B2B, B2C. At some point, there is something that we are really all looking at is what I should call D2C. Direct to consumer, and how we could basically manage the data so that we could approach the final user of the yeast. During the last few years, yeast is still a traditional business. Bakery, Montaos are not well known to be super high-tech, but basically what we have seen is that, it's growing extremely fast over the past, I should say, few years. By few years, I should 2 to 3 years. And with the coronavirus, we have seen a tremendous trend on the, online business. Online business is actually two. One is obviously for our I should say industrial or shop bakery, shop Montao, but as well for the end customer, what we call, the consumer, which is a small bags of yeast. And what we have seen is that during the coronavirus situation, basically the bakery sales has been multiplied by 100 on the e-com, and the trends keeps growing, even though the coronavirus situation is calming down a bit in China, but we see that the trend keeps on maintaining. And the yeast sales has been growing by 40% on the e-com. And the same trends, what we see happening in the, and now, we are few weeks after the crisis, the coronavirus crisis. we see that the demand is still maintaining. So back to what I was telling, Le Safre in China, even being traditional, we are trying to learn a lot. And I guess getting in touch with GD, and trying to understand how we can approach customer and process data is really, really important for us. I tend to agree with what's been said earlier on that for a company like us to have, lesaf.com.cn would not work. There are probably other ways to make it happen, either with a flagship. There are probably mini programs as well. There is a variety of solutions. The difficulty in China is that things are moving extremely fast, and it could jeopardize your resources if you are not focusing on the right targets. That's today our main challenge is to focus on the right trend and making sure that we invest on something that is going to be relevant in the coming weeks and months. So basically, this is the position of Le Safre. We believe that the trend is going to keep growing very fast, and in the next few years, probably it will redesign our relationship with distributors and end consumer. But meanwhile, the point is we have limited resources. So the point is making sure that we invest on the right horse. That's basically what I would like to share in the current situation. And obviously, I was really interested. Thanks, Jindong and Artefact, for your presentation.
Thank you, Jérôme.